Hey guys and girls, how do you fish an umbrella rig? You know, it's umbrella rig time of the year, without a doubt. We're catching some giant fish on umbrella rigs. I went just a few days ago and caught 10 bass, and from about 2 o'clock till dark, and one of them weighed 7 pounds and 14 ounces. Probably 8 of them were over 4 pounds. I caught 2 at once. Those were 2 small ones, about like 1.5 pounds and a 2.5 pounder. And that's the only time I caught 2 at once, but I've caught 2 at once a lot of times. I've only caught 3 at once, one time on an umbrella rig, but I want to show you the way that I rig umbrella rigs. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You really cannot do it wrong, and talk to you a little bit about the way that I fish them. We'll show you a little bit of fishing action as we go through this video. And I just sort of set up me a makeshift studio out here on my little round table out here by my boat, because it's just such an incredibly gorgeous day. I'm getting ready to get in that truck and boat and drive somewhere and go fishing. I promise you that. I might drive 100 miles, I might drive 200 miles, I might drive 300 miles, but I'm going fishing. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And so let's just kind of get started on this and tell you what I do. I do a few things that I think is really important, and one of the things you want to do is you want to get you some umbrella rigs rigged up ahead of time. I've got a tackle box that holds, I think, 3 or 4 that I put them in that they're ready to go. They've got a deal called an umbrella rig. I don't know, I mean, what it's called. It's called a rig rustler or something like that, that you put them in, and because you need some way to carry them once you've got them all put together, because it's kind of bait. Now, the baits that I use come in a little tube like this. It's just a little tube like it. That's a Shane's baits, and they're pretty high dollar umbrella rigs, but they are really killer ones. I'm going to show you 2 different ones. This is called a Mini Blades of Glory. This is a little small one, and it is just a killer. And this is a larger one. It's got really, it looks like a big school of shad. But we'll break them out here both in a minute. But I want to show you what I do, and we'll just start, and I'll go through some different ways. And like I said, you really can't do this wrong. You really can't do this wrong. All right, let's just go ahead and we'll pull out. We'll start with one. Well, let's just start with the big one here. We'll pull this big one out. And this one right here is called a Dominator, and it's a big one. Now, it comes like this. Now, what you want to do is you want to open these up. It's got a head in here. It's got slots. You want to open them up to a 90-degree angle, just like I've done right there. Now, you can see it's got 2 extra blades on there. We're going to put our bait back here. Going to open up the second one. And as you're fishing these are going to bend around. So you can move them around a lot, but I like to have them opened up all the way. That way, when you're coming through there, these baits are far apart. Now, when you cast, a lot of times your line's going to get down under here, and you're going to just I mean, it's kind of a pain in the fanny to fish this bait. But once you get these things spread out like this is the way you want it right here. Now, I'm going to show you what I do after do this. Now, we're gonna open up these, and I got me a pair of needle nose. You can use your fingernails if you want. My hands and my fingernails are just so cut up and so bad that I like to use a needle nose on them. But all right, I'm just going to lay that down. That's what we're going to start out with there. And then we're going to go over here, and we're going to rig up our swim baits. And I'm going to go ahead and pull about 5 of them out of a package and just lay those over there. And I've got 2 or 3 different. These are just a Lucky Strike swim bait. You want to rig it where the tail is down like that. And I'm going to go over here, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just start with, this is just a Bass Magic shaky head. That's all that is a shaky head right there. And normally on this, you would screw the worm into here and rig it where it's totally weedless. You can do that. You can do that on an umbrella rig. You can rig it totally weedless. I like to rig it with an open hook. Now, it hangs up real badly with an open hook, but I like to rig it with an open hook. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just bend this up out of the way, and I'm going to come in here, and what I'll do is I'll take 5 of these baits. So I'm going to go in here where I make sure I got my tail down, and I'm going to come in here and come around like such, and it's got a slot up in the top of it that your hook comes through, and I'm going to come around and I'm going to stop right about here. I'm going to stop right there. You see where I'm going to stop? I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to grab me another one. I'm going to show you a couple different jig heads here. This is another jig head that we use. This is just a regular pro jig head that I bought at Bass Pro Shop. 10 of them cost you a couple of bucks or something. I don't know. They're very inexpensive. I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I want to make sure my tail's down. So when that's up like this, the tail's going to be down. So you're going to rig this bait, and it's got grooves in both the top and the bottom. I'm going to, again, come in here and put the point of my hook in. I'm going to come back here and bring the hook right straight through that groove, and I'm going to come right up to there. I'm going to stop again. Now I'm going to rig me 5 like this. And so I did want to show you another head, because this is a head that I really like. This is a little darter head by Lucky Strike, and they actually kind of designed these darter heads. They kind of designed these darter heads for crappie fishing and putting a little swimming minnow on there. They got a red eye in them, which I really love. And now the only thing about these is they come, and they don't have the eyes cleaned out. They ought to have the eyes cleaned out, but they're very inexpensive, and so they don't have the eyes cleaned out. And so you got to clean the eyes out on them. And so the best way to do it is take your pocket knife, and it's really, really killer, really good paint. But you're going to have to clean those eyes out. Be careful, don't cut your finger off. And they make a little tool that you can clean eyes out, because a lot of baits are like this. But you're going to have to clean that eye out before you'll be able to put that on. So you'll clean that eye out. But I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take my bait, and I'm going to make sure that when it's up like this, my tail's going to be down. So I'm going to come up here and again go right through the middle. And you might say, Jimmy, that's a pretty small hook, and it is in comparison to those other two. And again, I'm not going to go up all the way. You know, you see that's a lot larger hook there. It is a relatively small hook, but I'm going to tell you, I catch so many big bass on that. It is amazing. It is amazing. And I'm going to go up there on that. I'm going to get another one of those darter head jigs, and I'm going to clean the paint off of it there. The paint is such good paint. You can catch a jillion fish and your paint's still on there, but kind of a pain in the fanny to have to clean those out. But they sell them very inexpensively. It's a very inexpensive jig. It's a great crappie jig too. It's a fantastic crappie jig if you're going to put some sort of soft plastic crappie bait on there. Get out of here, fly. I'll cut your head off. But usually when you scrape both sides of that stuff in the middle will come off. It's not doing it there on that. But I'm going to take a hook and see if I can get that cleaned out there. Yeah, got that good and cleaned out there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to show you something a little strange here in a minute, what I like to do. And again, we're going to make sure that we got our tail down, so we're going to turn it over where our tail is down. And I'm going to come up and again go through that. Now these baits are going to be all identical, and a lot of people fish all identical baits, and that's fine. Now I'm going to go up that far. You see I didn't go up all the way. I went up just right to there. And the bait's going to run just like that. Got that one wrong. Y'all would have caught me on that, wouldn't you? I know you would have. There we got it right. There we got it right. Okay, I'm gonna go in there like that. Now here's another deal. This is a Renoski swim bait that is a pre-rigged swim bait. It's a pretty neat deal. This is a Lucky Strike company also. And this is a pretty neat deal. And these are incredibly gorgeous. I don't even know how heavy these are. They're not very heavy though. I'm gonna be sure and take that off. That's covering the hook there. So you want to make sure you pull that off of there, because that is to keep you from getting hooked. But if you leave it on there, it's also going to keep the bass from getting hooked. That one broke. So, but you can buy pre-rigged. You can buy pre-rigged swim baits, and actually they work just fine. They work really just fine. This has got a really good hook on it. It's got a really good hook, and it's already rigged. You see what the deal is on that? That is a beauty. Now that's already rigged, so you can catch lots and lots of fish on that without any problem. Now personally, I would rather have that with the tail down. I really would, but that's the way that it comes out of the package right there. So we're going to use it just like that. Now let me show you what I'm going to do on this situation right here. I'm going to put this bait in the middle. When you rig these, and as we rig them, you'll notice this center wire is about an inch longer. It's about an inch longer, and it hangs back obviously an inch further than all the other swim baits. These other swim baits are going to be up here, and as you're fishing them and these bend down a little bit, this one is still the longest one. This middle one is the one you actually catch the most fish on. So now I've had them where all 5 baits are different, and I've caught fish on them. A lot of people like for all 5 baits to look identical, so that school of shad looks identical. Bass key on differences. We know that. They key on differences all the time. And so what I like to do is I like for this middle bait to be a little bit different. It's going to hang back a little bit further. That makes it different in its own. It's like, you remember when the Indians used to pick off the cavalry guys? I probably can't even say that in this day and time because it's probably unwoke or something, and I'm definitely not a woke type guy. But, you know, they would get the last guy in the line of cavalry guys, and then they'd get that guy and that guy and that guy, and pretty soon they'd have the whole cavalry shot in the back with an arrow, and nobody even knew anything happened. They just riding along. And so they will pick this back shed off a lot. The bass will bite this back one a lot. So what I'm going to do in here, I'm going to come in here now, and I'm going to start putting them on. Now, in putting these on, they've got really, really, really good snaps and swivels on them. And so I like to go ahead and open that up with a pair of pliers myself. Because if after a while, it's going to tear your finger up. Oh, by the way, we got to do something before we do that. Right. We haven't finished rigging these, have we? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some super glue. And a really good one is Gorilla Glue. That's just a great one. There's a lot of good ones. Everybody's got their favorites out there. These are just little $1 deals that you get a pack of 10 for a couple of bucks at Harbor Freight. And you open that up and put a little glue on there. Put a little glue on. And now I'm going to go ahead and shove that up all the way against that head. And I'm going to let her dry. That's going to get me up there against the head. I'm going to take, this is my little shaky head. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little drop up there. Shove that up against that and let it dry. I might put a little bit right up there and let that dry also. Careful there, Jimmy. I'm going to come up here on this one. Now we're going to, again, put a little bit of glue. It's a drop of glue. Shove that all the way up against that. And now that's going to dry against the head. And I'm going to stick my fingers together, as we always do when we use super glue. I'm going to come and put another drop of there. Every good fisherman I know carries super glue. And you can't have too much of it. I could have run that up a little bit further. You see, it'd be a little bit better if the hook was coming out right there. So I made a little bit of mistake on that one. This one, of course, where it is, this one needs no super glue. This is the center one. So now that we've got those on there, we're going to come in here, and I've already opened this one up. While I'm fooling with this, let's look at catching a fish or two on an Alabama rig. There's one. Right out in front of the boat, Jim Bob. Come here, baby dial. That's got a little power to him. He's not a big one, but he's a little bit bigger than what we've been catching for sure. Oh, I got more than one. I think I have more than one. Oh, looky there, Jim Bob. Dos pescas. That's the way to do it right there. Catch them two at a time.
We were schooled up.
Catch them two at a time, yeah. All right, Jim Bob, this one's yours. That one's yours right there. This bigger one's mine. Woo. Two at a time, buddy. That's the way to do it right there. You ran right at it. Is that a big one?
I mean, it feels good, but there's a lot of big fish in this lake. So.
Yeah, there are a lot of big fish in this lake.
No, he's kind of snagged. He's hooked, but he's in the mouth and in everywhere else.
Look at the size of those fish, though. I mean, they're just all so big and fat. I mean, just all so big and fat.
They got a free buffet line all day long, every day.
All right, here we go. Now we're going to start fasting them on. The good thing about an Alabama rig is it's very, very easy. You just stick your little jig head through there. And if you got a jig head that's got a pretty tight, small eye on it, which some of these do, you might have to kind of twist around to get them in. Once you get them in there, it's on a swivel, so it doesn't matter if it's upside down or whatever. It doesn't matter at all. So, and then you shut it. And you can see it's going to spin, so it's going to track right every single time. I come over here. Now I'm going to put these four on. I'm going to open it up. Again, you can use your fingernails on these, but these are really good. These are really good snaps. I'm going to put. That was stuck to my deal. I figured it would. The thing about super glue, it sticks to everything. Now, I can use my fingernails and shut that, but I'm not going to. You want to check these while you're fishing them. As you're fishing these, you want to be sure and check them. and make sure that they stay shut, so because they can come open while you are fishing. I'm going to put this one in between. I'll stick into my little Quaker State towel. That's got a little bit smaller jig head, but it'll work on there just fine. We get that one. Now we got one more. Now I separated those two little white darter heads. The darter heads are really a killer. Really a killer. And I will rig up several swim baits, and you'll have bass that'll bite the tail off of these. You know, I put a new swim bait on. The rest of your umbrella rig is just fine. So you want to have a few of these rigged up in a box, ready, various colors. Now I've got everything rigged but my last one. You see what I've got right there? That's what I've got. Now I'm going to go in here and put the last one in there. I'm going to come in here, open that baby up, and this is where I'm going to use my, both of those are the same. This is where I'm going to use my Ranowski. This is a made-up swim bait. It's already all made up. It's got the lead in there and everything. I'm going to come in here and put that in, and that baby's going to be in the middle. So that middle one, and I'm going to be trying these out the next 2 or 3 days, so I'll be fishing this exact bait that we're fooling with right here. And there we have a Shane's. We have a Shane's Alabama rig, umbrella rig, rigged up and ready to go. And now as that goes along in the water, you're going to have these over here swimming in front of it, and then you're going to have this one in the middle that's totally different. It's bright, got a lot of flash to it. This is the best made swim bait in the world. You can see it's got swivel on the top of it, so it can't twist your line no matter what it does during the cast. This particular one, called the Dominator, you've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 baits out there, because these are looking like a little shad also. It looks like a school of shad going through the water. Nothing's going to break. It's just absolutely an incredible bait. Now that's a $20 bait, 23 or 25 or something like that, before you put the swim baits on. So it is an expensive umbrella rig, but if you're using a Garmin fish finder with a live scope on it, you can watch this bait as it comes back in. If you see a tree or a brush pile or something's about to get hung in, you can wind it fast, bring it over the top of it, let it fall down the other side of it. Now you don't have to have a Garmin live scope to be able to watch your bait to catch fish on an Alabama rig. Of the 10 fish I caught just a few days ago, only the first 2 I caught, I saw those fish. I threw out there and I saw 1 and I caught 2. Only 2 other fish out of the 10 did I see and cast to. The big 714, I never saw that fish. I'm simply fishing down the bank. Let's go watch another fish or 2 being caught on an Alabama rig. You don't feel like he snagged. That's a mean one right there, sports fans. Not double digit, but he's a giant. He's a giant. 6 pounder, 7 pounder. I changed on my Shane Alabama rig, and I went to all the same color. I'm using a little Lucky Swim bait on here. Look at there where he's hooked. He's hooked on the outside of the mouth. He's hooked really good. I mean, really good. I've had so many of them run at it, and I think maybe that multiple color on there, they just didn't like that multiple color. That's a big fish right there. That's a big fish right there. Not as big as they are swimming around, not as big as what we've seen on our scope, our live scope. Ah! Nothing like live scoping for big bass on a great Texas lake. Pretty nice little chunk. Nothing wrong with that fish. Boy, you just got to get it down there to him. Isn't that a pretty thing in this clear water? I guarantee you that is gorgeous. Look at that fish in that clear water, Jim Bob. This boat with me.
Jimmy caught one.
Finally, that's only the second one I've had bite.
Bicycle seat. I think that's a sign that he might be getting old.
I was sitting down. I was sitting down.
My chair keeps leaking down.
Boy, that's some good cold sugar.
My chair.
You know, this is taking quite a bit of time, and I've got to get this truck on the highway and go fishing. So I'm not going to rig another rig for you right now. I'm going to rig some in the hotel room tonight. But I want to show you this little mini Blades of Glory, because this little rascal last week in Texas, and again, it looks like this, it comes out of the package. Don't let that fool you. Start opening it up. You open it up just like I opened that other. Now you can see what we're going to have here. We're going to have a small school of shad. We're going to have a tiny school of shad. It's going to look just like the other, except looky here. You see the difference? And now we're going to put smaller smaller swim baits on this. Probably still use 1/8 ounce heads. You can use 3/16 ounce heads. You can use a 1/4 ounce heads if you're fishing really, really deep. The one thing about 1/8 ounce heads, when you have 5 of them on there, that's 5/8 ounce plus the weight of your plastic, which is fairly heavy. So it's a fairly heavy bait. It sinks relatively fast, and you can really control it good. Now, if you can watch that bait as it's coming through the water, that's advantageous, no doubt about it. But like I said, you can catch fish on these without being able to see them. You don't have to be able to see this bait in the water in order to catch fish on it. We caught them for years before we could see our bait coming back into the deal. This just allows us to catch individual fish that we're looking for. So this is the mini Blades of Glory. I'm going to rig it up also and have it rigged on a rod the next 2 or 3 days as I'm fishing with smaller swim baits. And I just bet anything I catch some bass over 5 pounds on it. I just bet anything I do. All right, let's look at the rod and reel that I throw on this. And before I do, let me show you another bass or two caught on an umbrella rig. I got one. I don't think I got that one. Come here, doll. Come here, doll, baby. There's a whole bunch of them like this down there. There's one giant down there in this spot. I'm talking one giant. You know, making a difference putting all 5 of those baits being the same one. Sometimes if you have one that's different and you put on the very end, on this Shane's A-rig, you put the different one on the very end. It hangs down an inch a lot further. Ah, 2 at once. 2 at once. That's cool. That's cool. First time we've done that today. Okay, here's the rod and reel that I use on this. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make in fishing an Alabama rig is they want to throw it on a big pool cue stick rod that just absolutely wears them out. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get you a regular rod and reel that you like to fish with. This right here is a $59 rod and reel. Rod. The reel's a $300 reel, $350. But this is a $59 Jimmy Houston Blaze Series rod, 7'3". It's absolutely perfect. Now, I fish a lot of them, particularly that mini. I fish it on a 6'9". 6'9". I fish the big ones on a 6'9" also. But 7'3" is just absolutely perfect. This is a medium heavy. And here's what I load this thing up with. I load it up with 20-pound. I used 50-pound braid for a long time, started out using 80-pound braid. I moved back to 20-pound fluorocarbon coated line. This is high seas fluorocarbon coated line. It's about $10 a box, that's all. It is high seas copolymer line that is coated with fluorocarbon. It's totally invisible. Fish can't see it in the water. It is super, super strong. You cannot hardly break this 20-pound line. If you get your bait hung up, you'll most likely straighten the hook out before you ever break that line. Tremendously, tremendously strong. You will catch far more fish on fluorocarbon line than you will on braid. Absolutely no doubt about it. If you're smoking them on braid, put some fluorocarbon coated on and you will be amazed. But this is the rod you need to throw. A 7'3". Like I said, you can get by fine with a 6'9". 7'3" Blaze Series rod, $59 rod. But whatever reel you like on it. You know, this is a Lew's Titanium, which is really, really a great reel. This is like about the best reel ever made. And this is what I like to throw them on, 20-pound fluorocarbon line. And this reel has got, I can't remember, I think it should say on it, I think it's a 6.8 to 1 retrieve. I'm just not real sure. I'm sorry about that, guys and girls. I'm just not real sure. It's a titanium T1, and I forgot. I look at so many reel ratios. I think it's a 6.8 to 1. It might even be a 7 to 1. But it's just perfect. It's absolutely, it's perfect for throwing spinner baits, jigs, crankbaits, everything. But it really, really works well on an umbrella rig. But do not get a big, heavy flipping stick to fish this thing with. You do not need that. This is what you need right here. 7'3", blaze action, $59 rod. That's all it is. You can order them at jimmyhouston.com and get them right there. You can get them all over the country. But that's all you need. It's a very, very, very good fishing rod, extremely light, and it will not wear you out. You throw this thing all day long, you're not going to be worn out. I promise you. And it will drill those fish. It will absolutely drill them. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great time out there fishing an Alabama rig. This is the time of the year. We're getting down to where sort of about the end of the time right now to fish them, but start fishing them in December. They will catch fish all year long. Absolutely no doubt about it. And remember, if you're not subscribed to Jimmy Houston Outdoors YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to the Jimmy Houston Catch of the Day channel, subscribe to that channel. And go out there and catch you a bunch of fish. It is spring. I'm just going crazy to get my truck on the road and go catch some fish. Just remember, guys and girls, I love you.